If you've already left the relationship, but still feel overwhelmed, anxious, or numb, you're not alone. This is part of trauma recovery, and it doesn't mean you're failing at mental health. Leaving doesn't heal the damage. Because the damage wasn't just about the person. It was about what they did to your emotional regulation system. I left him. But why did I still feel broken? Why did I miss someone who hurt me? Why was silence so loud, after all the chaos was gone? If this is you, this video will gently walk you through why healing isn't the same as leaving. How trauma continues to live in your nervous system, even after they're gone. Why emotional regulation is more powerful than self-control. And what you can start doing now to stop surviving, and start rewiring. If you've ever thought I should be over this by now, drop a broken heart in the comments. Because you're not behind. You're just healing in the right order. Let's begin by unlearning the biggest lie about trauma and relationships. That's next. Leaving the relationship was supposed to bring peace. Instead, you felt hollow, disoriented. Like you were still waiting for the next emotional hit, even though they weren't there anymore. If that sounds familiar, you're not broken. You're in trauma recovery. Here's the truth most people don't say out loud. Leaving an abusive relationship doesn't automatically heal the abuse. Because abuse doesn't just live in memory. It lives in your body. And unless you work with your nervous system, not just your logic, you'll keep feeling trapped long after you walk away. This is where emotional regulation skills become your lifeline. Not to calm down, but to come back home to your own sense of safety. Most survivors don't just miss the person. They miss the adrenaline, the cycle, the relief after every emotional storm. Because that cycle became their baseline. Let's break it down. When you're in a high conflict or emotionally abusive relationship, your body adapts to chaos. Your fight/flight/freeze system stays on high alert. You start scanning for tone, silence, micro shifts in mood. You internalize blame so fast, it feels like reflex. Your resting state becomes panic. This is relationship trauma. And just because you left the source, doesn't mean the symptoms stop. That's why so many survivors say, I can't stop overthinking. I flinch when someone raises their voice. I feel numb when things are finally peaceful. I left, so why does it still feel like I'm losing? Because your nervous system hasn't caught up with your decisions. That's not weakness. It's biology. And the path back is not pretending you're okay. It's retraining what okay even feels like. This is where healing gets real, and deeply personal. It's not about moving on. It's about moving inward. Into your triggers. Your fears. Your frozen parts. And your forgotten voice. If any of this resonates, drop "still healing" in the comments. Because you're not behind. You're just not rushing. Now here's the kicker most people miss. Even if you're free physically, you're not free neurologically until you've done the work of emotional rewiring. And that's where most people get stuck. Because moving on sounds like something you do. But healing? Healing is something you practice, again and again, until safety feels normal. And until your body stops mistaking kindness for a threat. Coming up next, we'll go deeper into how trauma shows up after leaving. And why therapy isn't about fixing you, but reintroducing you to you. Especially the version of you that never needed to apologize for having feelings. Let's go there together. Segment 3 is where clarity meets compassion. Don't miss it. They're gone. But you still feel like you're walking on glass. You check your phone compulsively. You overthink every text. You apologize even when no one's upset. You left the person. But the relationship trauma stayed. And here's what no one tells you. When you exit an emotionally abusive relationship, your body doesn't throw a celebration. It grieves. It spirals. It flinches. Because even if the relationship was chaotic, chaos became your rhythm. And your nervous system doesn't crave peace. It craves what it's familiar with, even if that familiarity was destroying you. This is why many survivors feel numb when they should feel free. Afraid of calm. Attracted to fixing people in new relationships. Anxious even when life finally seems quiet. This isn't weakness. This is trauma repatterning. Let's make this clear. You are not failing at healing. You are deprogramming. The part of you that still panics. Still overexplains. Still feels shame for saying no. That part doesn't need to be erased. It needs to be reintegrated. Here are a few signs that trauma is still living in your system. You feel more stable when things are unstable. You flinch when someone uses a calm voice, because you expect it to snap. You're hyper-aware of people's emotions, tone, and silence. You feel guilty for feeling good, like something bad will happen right after. Sound familiar? Drop "still unlearning" in the comments if any of this hit home. You're not alone, and you're not crazy. Let's talk healing, not as a buzzword, but as a biological process. You can't logic your way out of trauma. You have to feel your way back into regulation. That's where emotional regulation skills become essential. It's not just breathing and journaling. It's practicing safety, moment by moment, until your nervous system learns that you're not in danger anymore. Here's what that can look like. Naming your emotion without needing to justify it. Taking 3 deep breaths before responding to triggers. Letting joy in without anticipating the punishment. Saying "I need space" and not explaining why. These seem small, but they are revolutionary when you've been conditioned to abandon yourself. But sometimes, no matter how many tools you learn, the spiral still pulls you under. And that's when outside support isn't just helpful. It's sacred. A safe container. A trauma-informed voice. Someone who can say, "You're not imagining this, and you don't have to do it alone." That's where many women find relief in anxiety online treatment, or platforms built specifically for survivors of emotional abuse. Not just any therapist, but someone trained to recognize covert control, gaslighting, and trauma bonds. Coming next. The one shift that moved me out of just surviving and into actually rebuilding. Not a better version of who I was, but a version I had never been allowed to become. Comment "I'm ready" if you're still with me. Because in segment 4, we start the rewiring process for real. The shift didn't come during therapy. It didn't come after a journal entry or a meditation. It came on a random Tuesday, standing in line at a grocery store. When I realized I didn't need to reply to a text. Immediately. Or perfectly. Or at all. And I didn't spiral. That was the moment I knew. Healing had started to land inside my body. Not just my mind. Because mental health isn't about being fine. It's about being free. Before that, I had all the information. I knew what gaslighting was. I understood trauma bonds. I'd watched every video, read every article, followed every coach. But I was still stuck in the loop of, how do I stop overthinking? Why do I keep feeling like it's my fault? Why am I still anxious when no one's even around me? The truth? You can't think your way out of trauma. You have to rewire your way through it. That's when I started practicing emotional regulation skills, for real. Not performatively. Not intellectually. But nervously. From the inside out. Here's what that looked like. 1. I breathed before I answered. Just 4 seconds in, hold, and out. Long enough to remind my nervous system, you're not in danger. 2. I wrote what I felt, not what I thought. Thoughts can lie. Feelings always point to a truth, even if it's buried. 3. I exited conversations when my chest tightened, without guilt. Because sometimes "I'm not ready to talk" is a full sentence. I wasn't healing to become normal. I was healing to become sovereign. I didn't want to walk on eggshells, not even in my own mind. And the only way out was through. But here's what changed everything for me. Having someone who saw the patterns before I could explain them. A narcissistic abuse recovery coach doesn't just ask, "What happened?" They ask, "How did that moment make you betray yourself?" That kind of support isn't surface level. It's sacred. And it made all the difference. When I combined coaching with an online therapy platform that let me choose someone trauma-informed, I finally felt like I didn't have to over-explain my pain to be taken seriously. And that's where the rewiring really began. I didn't just name my trauma. I started unlearning it, one reaction at a time. I started choosing myself, not just conceptually, but physiologically. If you've ever felt like I know what's wrong, but I still react the same, comment I'm ready to rewire. Because knowing is step one. But integration is what changes your life. In segment 5, I'll share the 3 pillars that kept me grounded. The rituals, reminders, and routines that carried me through the chaos, and still do. This isn't theory. It's practice. And it's how you build a life that no longer tolerates walking on eggshells. Let's finish this arc together. You don't heal in epiphanies. You heal in micro-decisions. Like taking one breath before replying. Turning off your phone before you spiral. Choosing silence, not out of fear, but out of peace. That's how trauma recovery happens. We often think of healing as dramatic. One big release. A breakthrough moment. But real recovery? It's repetitive. It's making small decisions over and over again, until your body starts to believe. I am safe now. I don't have to fight anymore. When my healing started becoming sustainable, it wasn't because I read more books. It was because I built rituals, gentle ones, that rewired me back into myself. Let me share 3 that changed everything for me. 1. Bookending my day with safety. Mornings and nights used to be the hardest. The moment I woke up, my chest was already tight. Before I even checked my phone, I was bracing for something, a fight, a silence, an accusation. So I started creating simple bookends. In the morning, 2 minutes of intentional grounding. I would literally put my feet on the floor and say, "This moment is real. This day is mine." At night, writing down one thing that made me feel in my body. Not gratitude, just presence. I took a deep breath before reacting. I didn't text back just to avoid guilt. This helped my nervous system realize that safety could be a ritual, not a rare accident. 2. Reclaiming my voice, without having to perform. If you've been in an emotionally manipulative relationship, your voice was likely filtered, edited, shrunk. Even when you're alone, you might still catch yourself rehearsing what you want to say, before you say it. So I practiced speaking again. Not to anyone, but to me. I would record voice notes to myself, uncensored. No structure. No audience. Just letting my own voice echo back as truth, not threat. And slowly, I stopped cringing at my own honesty. That's emotional regulation in practice, feeling without censoring. Not calm, but connected. 3. Choosing support that didn't need me to shrink. There's a difference between help that fixes you and support that sees you. When I started working with someone in trauma recovery coaching, they didn't ask, "What's wrong with you?" They asked, "What part of you did you have to abandon to survive?" That one question helped me build rituals rooted in reintegration, not self-improvement. And no, I didn't do all this alone. Finding a trauma-informed therapist, through an online therapy platform, made all the difference. Not because they gave me answers, but because they made it safe for me to ask better questions. You don't need someone to fix you. You need someone who knows how to walk with you as you remember who you were, before the conditioning. If you're building rituals, even if they're messy, even if they're small, comment "coming home" below. This isn't perfection. It's process. It's personal. And if your nervous system doesn't trust peace yet, that's okay. Coming up next. One final message. The line I come back to on the hardest days. The reminder that no matter how far you feel from yourself, you're never too far to return. Let's land this together. You don't have to be fully healed to start. You just have to stop abandoning yourself while you try. You've left. You've cried. You've questioned everything. And still, you kept going. That, in itself, is healing. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be present. You don't need to explain your trauma to everyone. You just need to understand it enough that you don't relive it, silently. You don't need to trust the world again right away. Just trust the next safe breath. The next gentle no. The next time you choose not to shrink. Because the version of you that's showing up now, tired, anxious, maybe still doubting, she's not broken. She's emerging. And with the right support, the kind that honors your nervous system, your silence, your story, you can rebuild a life where you don't have to apologize for your intuition. Where mental health isn't a goal, but a relationship you protect. Whether that support looks like journaling in the morning, or reaching out to a narcissistic abuse recovery coach, or trying out an online therapy platform where you don't have to explain what covert means. Whatever it looks like, let it be yours. Let it feel like home. If this video held something true for you, comment coming home. Not for me. For you. So you can come back when you forget that your softness is not a flaw, it's your power. And if you're ready for more resources, rituals, and voices that understand, you'll find it all in the description. Quietly. Privately. Without pressure. You don't need to get louder. You just need to get clear. And you already are.